So funding a deadly virus and then participating in a cover-up of it. As the year comes to a close, it is time for some answers. Here's former DNI John Ratcliffe on this program last weekend.
This was a domestic disinformation campaign. It involved Democrats like Adam Schiff on the House Intelligence Committee. It involved members of the media. It involved according to FBI whistleblowers, FBI agents, and it, of course, involved Twitter, and all of these working in concert, putting their not just thumb on the scale, but entire hand on the scale to mislead the American people in the weeks and months preceding a presidential election.
Well, a sad state of affairs this weekend. More Twitter files were revealed with evidence of the FBI directing Twitter which accounts to censor and which narratives to amplify. House Republicans are set to launch multiple investigations in the coming weeks into the origins of COVID-19, the U.S. funding of the deadly viruses in Wuhan, and the clear abuse of power and collusion between the FBI and social media companies to change an election. Joining me right now is the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. He is Congressman Mike Turner, expected to be the chairman of the committee once the Republicans take the majority. Congressman, it is great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. These are all tall orders, and I want to ask you about all of this abuse of power. You're going to be the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and you will have oversight of these agencies. What is your priority, and how will you use subpoena power?
Well, our committee became aware of these activities earlier this year, and I want to thank Elon Musk for bringing forward the information that he had, because while we pursue the intelligence community to try to hold them accountable, while we're doing that, Elon Musk is showing what's happening on the other side with the willing partners, the mainstream media, social media, and really exposing the coordination that was occurring between the FBI and them. Now, it is my understanding from our contacts that we've had with the FBI that there are secret files that the FBI has of these contacts that they were having with social media and with mainstream media. And it has been our objective to get a hold of those files, to see the extent of this so we can stop it. We can cut off the funding and prevent, obviously, average Americans being impacted by FBI actions. They have been resistant to this point, and we certainly intend to pursue subpoena power to expose the extent to which the FBI has been doing this.
So you have already then put a request out there for documents from the FBI. Is that what you're saying? What have you learned so far?
Well, the FBI had, under the cover of saying that they were pursuing foreign malign influence, had really exploded into an activities that involved engaging with mainstream media and social media and really impacting what is the normal debate of democracy. Now, what's very troubling here, in my opinion, this was not based on intelligence. You had John Ratcliffe on your own show saying, for example, the Hunter Biden laptop, which the FBI was trying to intervene and saying that was Russian misinformation. He said there was no intelligence that substantiated that. I believe that in the end, we will find that there's no intelligence that supports the FBI doing this, that this is a campaign by the FBI that really is outside of the bounds of anything we would expect them to do, and certainly, very constitutionally troubling.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk has revealed a lot, but you've got people like Devin Nunes, even Jack Dorsey, for God's sakes, the former founder, the CEO of the company, saying, release it all. So are you going to subpoena Twitter files? Are you going to subpoena this information so that you have this in your purview to go through? And are you going to subpoena the FBI and DOJ players who were doing this?
Well, we are definitely pursuing the Department of Justice and also the FBI. And luckily, the January 6th committee has established some great legal precedent that shows that Congress has full access. So they're going to have very much a difficult time trying to prevent us getting those documents. And I think it will show a very troubling pattern. We're also going to be looking for who's the mastermind. And since this is not based on intelligence, this is not foreign malign actors, that the malign actors turn out to be the FBI themselves. Who is it that's coordinating this? How can we cut off the money, prohibit this in the future? And we will use our subpoena power to track that down and make certain that this doesn't happen again.
So you can cut off the money then. You can defund this operation, you believe?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And since the Republicans are taking the House, this will be one of the #1 targets to make certain that the FBI does not fund this activity, which is clearly beyond the scope of what the FBI should be doing and very constitutionally troubling.
Well, I mean, all of this in the face of the Chinese Communist Party also hovering, wanting to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower. It comes as the Republicans on your committee, the House Intel Committee, detailed a new report that there are indications that COVID-19 may be tied to China's biological weapons program, that it spilled over into the general population during an incident, a mistake at the Wuhan lab. This is something that I have reported on before, that this was tied to the bioweapons program. What can you tell us? Because President Biden has met with Xi Jinping at least 5 times, once in person in the last year, and not once did he bring up the origins of COVID-19. We have no evidence that he did. What can you tell us about this bioweapons program?
You know, our committee, the Intelligence Committee, was established in part to make certain that your government doesn't lie to you. And what our members found in reviewing the classified version of the report that the Biden administration had the intelligence community put together concerning the origins of COVID-19 is that it did not match the unclassified version. So we believe that the classified version and the unclassified version not matching leads people, it is, having Americans leaving them with the wrong impression. And so what we did is we went into publicly available information and we flagged things that we don't believe the Intelligence Committee has commented on. It's certainly not something that they have pursued. And we've identified them as, look, not only is the IC hiding information in the classified report that they're not sharing with Americans, which absolutely it should be declassified. But we also believe that there are things that they're not even looking at that they should look at. And that's what our report is about. You can go to the minority portion of the intelligence community's website and you can read the report and our footnotes and find that all of these are publicly available sources.
I mean, we have spoken quite a bit on the threat of communist China and the stated goal of Xi Jinping to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower. Do social media companies not recognize the importance of this threat to be getting in front of real information for the American people? I mean, the average guy or gal out there doesn't have a shot at freedom, at liberty, with their hand on the scale the way it has been, even as it relates to COVID. Was there a cover-up that Dr. Anthony Fauci was driving, that the U.S. was not funding this?
Yeah, it's very concerning because, this should not be a partisan issue. Getting the information out, clearly identifying the source of COVID-19 can help us avoid this in the future, whether it be a bioweapons, whether it be a lab leak. All of that information should be out and should not be a partisan issue. Then you have the next level issue of what was your own government's involvement. And certainly with the Government Reform Committee, our committee, a Judiciary Committee, we're going to be trying to get to the bottom of this. So that we can cut off that funding, restrict the funding of those agencies that might be involved, including sub-grantees that might have been involved in funding research, and that in the end could harm America and harm our people.
Yeah, but let's face it, we've gone through this before, Congressman. I mean, throughout the whole Russia collusion narrative, they stonewalled you and your colleagues. I spoke with Devin Nunes and John Ratcliffe practically every week, and they would say, we're asking for this information. We're demanding these files. You're now telling me you're demanding files from the FBI. Will anybody go to jail? Will there be any accountability, or is this going to be another exercise where you're just asking for information and you're getting stonewalled by bad actors in federal agencies that are compromised?
Well, I do think that not only are all of us, the Government Reform Committee, Judiciary Committee, Armed Services Committee, Energy and Commerce Committee, Intelligence Committee, all willing to pursue subpoenas in this area. We're willing to back it up with court action. And what we've seen with the January 6th Commission is there's some great precedent where the courts have upheld Congress's ability to get information, and it is our intention to pursue this to the fullest. This goes right to our basic rights and to what is our government doing. And that's certainly, our job. What we need to make certain that we're providing oversight and stopping these actions that can harm the American people.
All right. Well, look, just to reiterate, you said you are going to subpoena this information from the media companies, from the FBI. You said you are going to hold them to account. And if it happens to be that you have to cut off money, you will defund these operations, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, another thing, just a little something for the media companies and the social media companies, just because the FBI shows up in your office does not mean that you are protected. If you comply with the FBI and they don't have a warrant, then you're a co-conspirator in actions that could result in people, having violations of their constitutional rights. People should think twice in what we're hearing from Elon Musk that Twitter was doing.
And I guess companies as well, given the fact that we know that AT&T turned over lots of communications from congressmen and women because the Democrats went to AT&T to get that internal communications, and AT&T did it.
Right, and I think we certainly see in media companies and in social media companies that our investigations are certainly going to have an impact on the sharing of that privacy information and data that we should all have rights to. And if not, we'll change the laws for those.
Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much. We, of course, will be following your leadership as the chairman of the Intel Committee. Thank you, sir.